कैसे समझा?
विन ग्रिप टेक्नोलॉजी को जिस तरह सीमेंट को ग्रिप करता है बिल्कुल टाइट।
SRMB TMT चैंपियंस की पसंद।
Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochnick here for Extra Time. We've had a massive day of a double header with incredible results. In fact, the first match, CSK absolutely thumped RCB in a manner that I didn't expect, and certainly puts a lot of emphasis on CSK in this tournament with the likes of, certainly CSK's up there. The other, the shock to me was the Delhi Capitals match against Sunrisers Hyderabad, which we've just witnessed, was a tie, officially a tie, 159 all, led to the so-called one-over elimination, or better known as the super over. And rather disappointing, SRH with Warner basically didn't look like they were getting any runs. They only got, was it 6 or 7? I can't remember the exact number. The reality is that Delhi passed that score and effectively won the super over, which led to the Delhi Capitals yet again winning a match, leaving Delhi Capitals, CSK and RCB all on 8 points, with the rest 4 or less. So there's a distinct gap between the top 3 and the bottom 5 now, even though it's relatively early, being match 20. We're effectively 1/3 of the way through the tournament, if we include the playoffs. My God, this is a long tournament, isn't it? Absolutely. We've been joined by not one, but two Bharat Army fans. And I'm worried because they're starting to infiltrate us too much now. I think it's a bit of a worry. Dipti, of course, and Gill. And Debash as well. He's not a Barrett Army person, but he's a Norman Kochnick fan club member, so that's the one thing I know. And it's you're supposed to laugh, Debash. So the reality is that we are all together here. So thanks for joining us, guys, and thanks for yours. We need to look at this game very carefully. I mean, I have to admit, I don't know who the man of the match is at this point in time, but you could have to give it to Kane Williamson, even though they lost. His efforts to keep the team on track to actually go close to winning is quite amazing. But rather disappointingly for Delhi Capitals, they did win the match in the end, but after such a positive opening partnership with Prithvi Shaw and Shikhar Dhawan, the rest of the team fell away quite considerably, didn't they? In terms, when I say considerably, they didn't exactly kick on to what they should have done from such a good start. I mean, Steve Smith batted pretty well for his 34, but in general, their innings was thwarted somewhat in terms of how many runs they got, and I just didn't think they had enough, but they did in the end. Rashid Khan, again, bowled well, so did Siddharth Cole, so it was certainly a good effort from the teams, but significantly, SRH went very, very, very close, and thanks primarily to the likes of course, Williamson. But that last over was disappointing. Did you guys find that last over disappointing? I've been the Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Yeah, I think Rabada's been off his radar in this entire tournament. The one game that Delhi lost to Rajasthan Royals, Rabada was disappointing. He went for runs against Chris Morris. See, it's one thing when you bowl well and you go for runs, then you have to give credit to the batsman. But in this scenario, also today, I don't think he bowled well. There was not even a Yorker that was attempted. He bowled a full delivery on the stumps when he knows that Kane Williamson can play that paddle with the fine leg up. Was disappointing, without a doubt. But overall, I think it's a good thing that Delhi have managed to win over here. Credit goes to the spinners. Spinners did very, very well, be it Akshar, be it Mishra, be it Ashwin. Just think that, probably Hetmeyer could have been promoted at number 4 today because there was no off spinner in the SRH bowling attack. He could have gone after Suchit, who bowled his 4 overs only for 21 runs. And thankfully, Steve Smith scored those runs in the last over because before that, he was only 23 of 21. And it could have potentially been a match-losing innings. That if you see, it would have been at that point of time as well. But as we saw as how the game progressed, those 10-15 runs in the last over made a lot of difference.
But I must say, Axar Patel was a standout today. His comeback after his period of quarantine, he certainly looked the goods, and he was even given the option to bowl the last over, the super over, which is indicative of how he bowled today. Xtra Patel, a lot of people don't rate that he should be in the T20 circuit. Well, that's not true. He is a very important bowler. I think even our own Chris Vernon thinks he'll never play Test cricket again. Rubbish. He'll play, and he'll play many games. He's a fantastic bowler, and he showed that today. Prithvi, your thoughts? Your team. What happened to your team?
I thought we would be taking the winning movement forward, but sadly we didn't. We came close, and when we come this close and not, cross the line, it hurts even more. And I don't know, Warner in his last 3 matches, he has been run out 2 times. So I think he's in a hurry, or I don't know, some kind of pressure to get those quick singles and maintain the good power play rate, and because of that he's just giving away, he's just getting out, if not for ballers, he's just giving away his wicket, which is not done. I'm just feeling bad about that. And yeah, the positive would be Kane Williamson being back. I think just because he was there in the team, we could come this close. And also with the help of Suchit, he came in place of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, and I think he's done a pretty good job here. But since this is Chennai, and for Chennai pitch, 3 spinners is fine. But then in the next match, I don't think someone has to be dropped, because I think they'll go with an extra pacer option. And it's all I actually am feeling short of words to explain, like how are we not able to do it. And I feel in this match, if Manish Pandey would have been, I know a lot of you all might not have agreed, but I think he's better than Virat Singh. I know Virat is a young player; we have to back him. But today, I felt him going out, him wasting those balls also costed us a bit. So instead of that, getting out earlier is better. So yeah, it's like all over the place. We have few positives. I think we have to look at them and work on crossing the line this time, the next time.
Yes, Debashis. Now we have 2 teams on the bottom of the competition. Admittedly, still only a third of the way through. SRH and KKR, I was predicting they'd be close to the top 4. Well, in fact, at the moment, they are distinctly the bottom 2. Both Punjab Kings and Rangers and Royals have actually done slightly better, which shocks me. So I think you said before the program, this game could well be, if Delhi had lost, it would throw the competition wide open. Do you still think that?
Absolutely, I still felt that way, because had Delhi lost the match today, then it would have been an open tournament. But then now that Delhi has won today, I think Delhi, RCB, Chennai, Mumbai, they still stick to on the top 4. But then having said that, I think the one thing that undermines the fact is that experience does matter in whatever format, across formats. And Kane Williamson once again showed that he is a class act. Obviously, there were a lot of talks about that he because Sunrisers kept him out for the first few matches. Obviously, he was injured, but it once again goes to underline the fact that experience across the format does count. And almost it is an irony that he couldn't take the team home. But thanks to the Delhi Capitals, the cricketers, the way they stuck to it, and obviously. I would say one thing, and you did mention about Akshar Patel, but then having said that, when you have someone like Ravi Jadeja, who took 4 overs, 13 runs, 4 wickets, and that blistering knock, 62 of 28 balls, how can you leave Ravi Jadeja out of that Indian team? So I think it's a pity that Akshar Patel is living in a era where you have someone like Ravi Jadeja. It quite happens, because when you had someone like Mahendra Singh Dhoni, that whoever the wicketkeeper, however good or talented he is, you cannot break even into that Indian squad. The same applies to our left-arm spinner in the likes of Ravi Jadeja, that he is not allowing someone else to get into that Indian team.
I understand totally what you've said, but you know what? What would be wrong with putting 2 left-arm bowlers in? What would be wrong with that? There's nothing really wrong with that. It's not. It won't happen, I know, but it wouldn't be something that I would be concerned about if they did. I think it would be a good move. Because if they're both bowling well, then put them both in there, for God's sake. It's easy to say, I know. All right. where do we go from here? This is becoming increasingly frustrating. Teams like SRH losing these matches, even KKR, both teams are better than the 7th and 8th of the table, aren't they? By a country mile. Both should be higher than that, and they've been very frustrating. Let's hope they get their act together, but it doesn't look very good at the moment for them. Delhi Capitals, I keep saying that, Delhi Capitals keep winning games despite potentially losing. They come out with a victory. That's a good sign. Gil.
Yeah. Speaking of SRH and KKR, of course, they are a better side if you look at them on paper. But a lot of their doing and a lot of their positioning is down to their own tactics. Uh, they've not been utilizing their players well. For 2 seasons now, I've been seeing that somebody like Rashid Khan, since you would know this, Norman, because you follow the BBL. Rashid Khan has a lot of potential when it comes to hitting the long ball and with the bat. Someone like him, for some reason, doesn't get promoted when the likes of Virat Singh or sometimes the Priyam Garg was promoted last time. When you did not have Abdul Samad this time, and you know that you were chasing what was probably 10 runs par, because we've seen even 140 chases become very difficult at Chennai. When you're chasing 160, you need that impetus to keep going for it. So it didn't make any sense for Virat Singh to come out at that point of time. Apart from that, I also didn't understand what was the need to play another pacer. One of Siddharth Kaul or Khalil Ahmed could have been dropped for someone like a Shahbaz Nadeem. This pitch was obviously on the slower side. And you had Vijay Shankar who could chip in with a few overs of medium pace. So there wasn't really a need to play all three of Siddharth Kaul, Khalil Ahmed, and one other pacer that they played. So probably these are the few things that they're doing wrong and can do better. Similarly for KKR, I think sometimes they're getting the entry points of their batsmen completely wrong. They were 31 for 5 against Chennai, and then they went for an ultra defensive approach against a bowling lineup which was completely inexperienced. It was a Jofra Archer less and a Kartik Tyagi less bowling attack in Mumbai, and they were 24 for 1 in 6 overs. So you are losing a lot more games in the mind before getting on the field itself.
I must say, I'm a bit shocked. The player of the match, who do you think it is? I would have said Williamson, even though he lost the match.
Prithvi Shaw
Is it Smith?
Prithvi Shaw.
Prithvi Shaw.
Prithvi Shaw. Okay.
Now, he did bat well. I'm not denying that. And his strike rate was, 135 was pretty commendable. But I don't think he was the player of the match by any means. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Prithvi Shaw at least got runs on the board this time, which will be encouraging for Mumbai Indians for Delhi Capitals, because they really need him to play well, and he's done that today. Obviously, Shikadawan and Pant are there as well, and Steve Smith. So Delhi Capitals, still to me, are the ones to watch. RCB clearly were before today's match, because they lost. They still are, but I think Delhi Capitals can win the tight ones, and that could be very important. Despite having choked in the previous years, I think they've learned from that now, and I think they're ready for this tournament. All right.
For what it's worth, I thought that maybe someone like Panakshar Patel could have been given man of the match.
Yeah.
He took 2 wickets, bowled at just around 6 runs per over in an 8 runs per over game, or maybe even an Avesh Khan. He took 3 for 34, got the wicket, very important wicket of Johnny Bairstow. So.
Yeah, thank God we're leaving Chennai. Aren't you glad? I'm very frustrated with teams
Very
playing
happy.
Chennai.
Extremely happy.
Been some awful games there. I think awful games, and I'm glad to see the back of Chennai. To be honest, we've got of course the next match, tomorrow's match is the first at Ahmedabad, which will be interesting to see how that fares. Sebastian, what do you think? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would want to add one point to what Gurkirat said. Because of the target, someone like a Vijay Shankar was held back, and the others were given priority. So yeah, Rashid, if I'm not wrong, Vijay Shankar came after everyone else, because he was a kind of player who will take a lot of balls. So I think they did think in that certain line. But I totally agree with you on why they don't rate Rashid the batsman a bit higher than what they do. So I think they are in the right track. They just need to. They just don't look at Rashid as a batsman, which I don't know why. So that should be done. But then I like the way they held back Vijay Shankar and didn't let him use those balls. I just wanted to add that point.
Jabashis, you were
I would feel that the Sunrisers middle order is looking very, very inexperienced. Means with the likes of Virat Singh and Abhishek Sharma, and you have a Priyam Garg in the dugout, but then Abdul Samad, and he was injured. He was not playing this match, so there is definitely a case for Manish Pandey. Means people might argue, but the sheer fact that he has that experience and he is a very, very good fielder means that eventually, yeah, takes him, gives him a better opportunity for him. But then I don't know what has been the reason behind, because today it was awful. Means if Suchit has not hit that six of the last over, means the match wouldn't have gone to the super over. The match would almost been over in the regulation time. Delhi would have won in stipulated time had Suchit not hit that six. So I think that they are going awfully wrong as far as the combination is concerned. I think that middle order looks very, very inexperienced, because
I
Kedar Jadhav has looked totally out of color. Means ever since the Chennai Super Kings stint last season, he has totally looked out of touch.
But he's played only one. He's had only one innings with the bat,
Yeah.
so we really can't
Yeah.
judge on the basis of.
So if you want
But
experience, they will perform certain games. They won't. They need some time to settle into the new team. So I think having Kedar in is you still can't stick to the fact that it's an inexperienced bowling lineup, because batting middle order. So I think because we have Kedar in there and he is an experienced international player, we can't keep him aside. And I heard it. I'm not sure how much of it is correct, but Manish, I heard that he took a bit of niggle or something. I'm not sure how much of it that is correct, but I think Manish should come in place of Virat Singh if he doesn't perform in next match. So we can give him one more chance. But if that doesn't happen, we can get Manish back in. And I would want to add one more point about fielding. So there is a stat that came up from 2018 until now. SRH have dropped the most number of catches, and today they dropped two catches in the same position, and that thing is not acceptable. So I guess it was Steven Smith, and that made a huge lot of difference coming to the end. He did hit in the last over those 12 runs, but I think that made a lot of difference. So I don't think I think so Manish Pandey is required in the team because he's a good fielder, but apart from that everyone is expected to field well, because catches win matches. I just wanted to add that point out there as well.
Gee, that's a profound statement. Catches win matches. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, as far as that Smith drop is concerned, I think it might have been tactical, considering how he was struggling to score more than run a ball. It's just that he got away in the last over. So I think Smith not getting caught in the 15th, 16th over hurt Delhi more than what it did SRH.
Now there is an important comment that may explain why that Prithvi Shaw got the man of the match. There's a lot of commentary. Deep Desgupta, who's been on this show as well as mine, made the comment that was the best, it was the most sensational way that Prithvi Shaw played Rishabh Pant. Now, I think some of the batters that are in other sides may be watching that very carefully, because we haven't been able to unlock the best way to play Rishabh Pant. We keep hearing that they'll just play him out, but I think Prithvi Shaw may have unlocked a way of playing Rishabh Pant. And I think it's important to be aggressive, and I think that's relevant to Rishabh Pant to disturb him. In the final over, of great significance, the super over, was the lack of pizzazz about the SRH batters that went out there. Warner looked very ordinary. He's very much out of touch. In his normal form, he would have scored 20 in that over. His batting is normally superb, under pressure in super overs, or as a batsman in general. I thought it was amazing they didn't put Bairstow in there. Now, there lies a problem. I think they still haven't quite got the captaincy correct in the way that Warner relates to Williamson and Bairstow. I don't think there was enough discussion. Warner said, I'm going to bat. I batted very badly, to be honest. Williamson batted okay. So there's an element of doubt there. And again, Rashid Khan bowling the over too wasn't exactly exciting. So Axar Patel, again, his importance is immense to this team. Yes.
Yeah, so as far as Warner's batting is concerned, I think since the time he's come back from his ban, if you look at his performances, even in the 2019 World Cup and then the Ashes that followed, and the last IPL, and this IPL so far, and also what he's done for Australia, what I have felt in the last 2 years with Warner is that he's now getting beaten for time. He was someone who had a lot of time when playing, when he was in form and on song. But now what is happening with him is he's getting beaten for time, both with spinners and with pacers, and I think that is one of the most important reasons why he's not at his lethal best. If I were in the SRH management, emotions and everything aside, if I had to pick three players that I wanted to retain for the next season, they would be Williamson, Rashid, and Bairstow. Or
Besto.
third one could have been either even Bhuvneshwar Kumar, because at this point of time, with the bat itself only, I'm not even considering the fact that Bairstow is a keeper and allows you to play another batsman or a bowler. At this point of time, just with the bat, both Bairstow and Williamson are doing more than what David Warner is doing. Even if you take into consideration the last season, he's not at his lethal best. What he was for SRH in all those years. Say if you pick of 2014, 15, 2016 when he had that 800 run season, he's clearly not where he was in terms of his batting. He's definitely slowed down.
Yeah, I would just, I'm not defending Warner. If that is the case, it's fine by me as well, because we have to pick the best team. But I would like to add one point. I don't think Rohit Sharma is performing that well, but then he's still being backed. So why can't David Warner be backed? And he seems out of form, but still he's been consistently scoring 400 plus at least. I'm not sure how much he scored in the previous season. So he has been doing that, right? So
There's a
it's not.
there's a difference.
Yeah.
Rohit Sharma doesn't occupy an overseas spot. David Warner does. That overseas spot is a huge issue. It's something which even KKR are struggling with. That is the whole issue. That is why I have never had, my biggest wish for DC was to not appoint a Steve Smith as a captain, because when you have an overseas captain and he's not performing, not only you are one, you're short one player who's not performing, but you are one overseas player short who's anyway supposed to be one of your most impactful picks. So I think that is the difference. Also, uh,
His
of course,
captaincy.
without a doubt, no more than that, without a doubt, Rohit Sharma has been underwhelming in the IPL. I think the last time he scored 500 runs in a season was back in 2013. But the team can carry him. The team is much stronger and David Warner doesn't have that comfort. Plus, being an overseas player doesn't help when you have the likes of Mohammad Nabi, Jason Holder, even Jason Roy now, who can do better with the bat, or probably give you that opportunity. So there's definitely pressure on David Warner to do well. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, I think really I give SRH one more match and they've got to perform. Otherwise, we'll need some dramatic changes to their team.
I totally agree with what Gurkirat has said. He has just hit the nail on his head, because if you appoint a captain and an overseas player as a captain, and if he's not performing, you are putting too much pressure, because what it counts is you can only play four players. And if it happens to be your captain, one of the four foreigners happens to be your captain, and if he's not performing, it puts immense pressure on you. Just you see the case of KKR. Owen Morgan is not performing, and see what happens. Means you have the likes of Ben Cutting and Lockie Ferguson sitting in the dugout, but they are not getting an opportunity. And
Tim Seifert is also there. Tim Seifert is also there.
Seifert is also there. So you see, this is the whole issue. Means if you are the captain, overseas player as well, and you are not performing, you are unnecessarily occupying that spot, which is harming the team in the long run.
Well,
But
let's be
I
honest.
don't think, yeah, I don't think he's had as bad as Morgan is, and he always tries to make up for the runs that he has not scored initially. That's what he did in the previous season. We are hoping that he'll do that this season as well. So I don't think he's as bad as Morgan is. I I just don't think that we can compare both of them.
Well, I don't
He's
think it's
not.
a matter of being as bad as anyone. He can only talk about his own team, because Owen Morgan's not his own team. So the reality is, it's not a comparison of them, but it's the combination of being captain and playing badly. Most sides leave their captain for the duration of the season, otherwise it becomes too destabilising. But honestly, Williamson should be captaining SRH. Warner would be better off in the team just batting. Maybe that's what he needs to do. Maybe he needs to free himself up from captaincy and just go out and think nothing but bat. We might see a different Dave Warner. We may well do that. I think that could be it would be a very clever move for that to happen, but it won't probably. All right.
You know, there's another thing that I've always felt, and I think I've discussed this previously on the show also. I've never felt that, having three overseas players in your top four or even top three is something which is sustainable. It's not sustainable, and even SRH found out last season when they had to drop Johnny Bairstow. So they had the perfect opportunity to plug that gap or the hole before the auction, but they were pretty lackluster in the auction. Only picked up, I think, two players or three players. There was the buy of Mujib, and there was this buy of Kedar Jadhav, and there was one other buy, Suchit. So there were only these three buys, and honestly, I didn't know why they bought Mujib for, because as of now, even Mohammad Nabi is struggling to get into the side, and their fast bowling has also been pretty one-dimensional. There is no express pacer in the side, and with the
Natarajan
Natarajan
being ruled out. Yeah.
being ruled out, there's a lot of pressure on Bhuvneshwar Kumar to deliver at the death when they move to better batting pitches. Delhi is going to be better than what Chennai is. Also, what is not going to help is Delhi has much smaller boundaries. So in a ground like Chennai, someone like Vijay Shankar can get away with slower ones on the bigger side, especially when there is a 75-meter boundary. But in Delhi, he won't have that comfort, because the biggest boundary in Delhi is 65 meters, and the shortest is 55. So, a lot of, like I said, a lot of these, this model is down to their own doing. They weren't active enough in the auctions, and post the auctions, even in the playing 11s, they haven't been active enough. They haven't been,
Now,
plugged
Moeen
into
Ali,
the-
I'll quickly go back to the previous game. Moeen Ali was injured. Do we know what was wrong with him? Have they told anything? Devassus?
No, I think someone in the press conference did say that he will be okay for before the next match. I think there might be some niggles. That's the reason that he did not play. And talking about this match, and I would like to add something with what Gurkirat just mentioned. I think the form of Avesh Khan has opened a lot of options for Delhi Capitals. Means he has been doing it outstandingly right from match one. And what it does for Delhi Capitals is that you have the luxury of having a Nokia sitting at the dugout. Obviously, Rabada has not looked that potent a force in last few matches, but I think he will come good because he's too good a bowler to come back to form. With someone like Nokia is at the dugout, so it puts a lot of options for Delhi Capitals bowling attack. And you have Akshar Patel coming back and delivering in his first match, coming back from, and you have Amit Mishra, Ravichandran Ashwin. So Delhi Capitals had lot of bases covered. If you ask me.
Okay. Let's start to wrap up a bit towards the thoughts of the next game. And our thoughts, it was pretty clear the Delhi Capitals had all bases covered. They didn't win convincingly tonight. They probably could have won more convincingly. But the next set of games becomes relevant as well, because I think Delhi Capitals, 2 games away, have a game as well of great importance, if I'm not wrong. And I think they're playing RCB, which is going to be a very significant match yet again. The last time, these two teams have already played, haven't they, in the tournament? I'm pretty sure they have.
This season, no. In this season, no.
No.
Okay, this is the first time they played?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's going to be interesting, because that could be an important benchmark, because other than CSK, which we know have led quite well in their last so many matches, that match could be a crucial match as well for both those teams, because that could set themselves apart. And on top of that, Mumbai Indians need to get their act together as well. So it's going to be intriguing, the matches coming up. It's getting more and more intriguing. Distinct gap now between the top 3 sides as opposed to the rest. But it's going to be interesting. What do you got here?
No best and super over.
Ashok Datani asks, no BS2 in super over?
Exactly. As I said earlier, I made it clear the fact that Warner, as captain, decided he would be one of the people and over was disappointing because clearly on the day, Bairstow and Williamson were the best two batters they had, and they should have put those two in. Warner proved in the Super Over that he was not good enough on the day. He missed some. The very first ball he faced, he should have hit, and he missed that. He timed that very badly. So the reality is that was a mistake. Bairstow is a known Super Over bowler batter, and would have to have been the one that I would have picked. So that was a mistake there and then, and it proved to be the reason why they lost as well. Okay, so I want to look towards the next games so we can get that done, and we're going to move on from there. So effectively, we have CSK. Sorry, not CSK. Let's have a look. We got Delhi Capitals playing
Punjab
RCB.
Kings.
Next,
Sorry,
next,
RCB. Tomorrow,
Yeah, correct.
KKR is playing Punjab Kings.
exactly. All right. So, what's your thoughts on that? Can you look forward to those matches? Can you give me a bit of an insight as we leave this today on those two matches, on that match?
Yeah.
Jifty.
Gurkirat, would you like to go?
Yeah. So Punjab versus Mumbai, right?
Yeah.
No, Punjab versus KKR tomorrow.
No, hang on. Let's get this right. Sorry, my
KKR.
mistake. KKR.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah, so I suspect, I suspect Punjab, despite the success that they have had in the last game, they need to change their bowling attack. There is no way you can have 8 overs of Fabian Allen, 8 overs of Fabian Allen, Deepak Hooda, and Moses Enriquez versus that middle order of Pat Cummins, Dinesh Karthik, and Andre Russell. It's just fraughting with too much risk. There's a need for one of Riley Meredith or Jai Richardson to come in, because you need one of them to bowl in the death along with Mohammad Shami. And Mohammad Shami at the death has been a revelation, if you ask me, because if you've seen him develop as a death bowler earlier, what used to happen with him was that if there was the lower middle order batting in the end, then he would be very confident of nailing the Yorker, because he knew that even if he misses his spot, he would not be taken for runs. Against the top order and the middle order batsmen, he didn't used to attempt those Yorkers. He would probably go for a slower one or a bouncer. But now what he started to do well is that he goes for the Yorkers even against the set batsmen. So his evolution as a death bowler is something that the whole Indian setup will be very proud of, and that was on display in the last game. He nailed a lot of Yorkers against Rohit as well as Pollard. So him at the death along with one of Richardson or Meredith should be the way to go. And if Fabian Allen is playing, Punjab should realize that he's not a 4 overs bowler. You're taking too much of risk with him, bowling 4 overs of him. So
I'll take you to task on that. I don't believe Meredith Richardson have any reason to be deserving to come back into the side. They've been awful. They were that bad with their full tosses and wides. I would urge not to bring them back in, because I don't think they're ready for this competition. I really don't. I think they've got to look for another bowler. I'm not in agreement with you at all.
They also have Chris Jordan. They also have Chris Jordan in the lineup. They also have another Indian pacer who's a very good prospect, and Ian Bishop rates him very highly, and that is Ishan Porel of Bengal. He was very good in the under 19 World Cup that he played in 2018, which Norman India beat Australia in the final. I hope you remember. So,
and even he did well in the domestic season, domestic cricket also.
Yeah. So, but they need to add another bowler in place of a Deepak Hooda or a Fabian Allen or Moses Enriquez.
Maybe
So,
David Malan.
In my
David
opinion,
Malan.
in my opinion, it shouldn't be Meredith and it shouldn't be Richardson. I'm totally against them going back in.
Is there a case of David Malan coming into that Punjab 11, playing
Absolutely.
11?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because for that to happen, you need to drop one of Gale or Puran, and I really wouldn't drop them against a lineup that has against a lineup like KKR. I wouldn't do that.
So why would
Plus-
you not have why would you not have a batsman who's rated in the top 1 or 2 T20 batsmen in the world? You as with Williamson, you need him back on the side. You need to adjust. He needs to, because they need a shot in the arm, in my opinion, and they need to have him back.
But the thing is, Williamson is a much better player of spin. We saw in the India versus England T20 series in Ahmedabad how much was David Malan struggling, except for one game. So had it been a different venue, say when Punjab play in Bangalore for those 5 games, then yes, they can bring in a David Malan. But I don't think for Ahmedabad they need to bring him in. It's not the surface which is going to assist him. I know he's the number one batsman and everything, but how many games has he played in Ahmedabad or on those slow pitches? The rankings don't account for it. The rankings only account for performances on the pitches that you have played, and quite frankly, he's not played those on those kind of pitches which and against those bowling attacks because I doubt he's played against Varun Chakravarti or Sunil Narayan before. So I wouldn't really bring him in.
And Norman, talking about KKR perspective, I would say that we will all agree on one count is that we would love to see a higher batting order for Andre Russell. You cannot waste
Yeah.
Andre Russell coming in at 16th over. Means if you are to make a match of it, you are time and again you are wasting that. A batsman of the caliber of Andre Russell shouldn't go in at over number 16. So and KKR should look beyond having Sunil Narine. I don't know what is he has been a great bowler for Knight Riders, but it's time now to look beyond Sunil Narine. You have a Lockie Ferguson waiting. He would be handy in conditions like Mumbai. So why not pick him and play him? And as Gurkirat said, you have Ben Cutting and Tim Seifert as well. So I think KKR needs to look at options. Obviously, Wayne Morgan is your captain, so he is definitely a certainty. Then you have Andrew Russell, you cannot drop him. You have Pat Cummins, who has done well so far with both ball and bat. So I think there is always a case for the fourth foreigner as far as KKR is concerned. And talking about KKR's top order, I think they have been very conservative in their approach, especially the likes of Shubman Gill and Nitish Rana. I think they 24 runs in 6 overs last match. I think they lost their way in the power play. I think it's they need to make a move on, and someone in the dressing room in the team management needs to give them a push so that they can make this power play count. Look at things like Chennai and RCB today. What they did in the power play.
All right, guys, we're going to end it there. We promised we would end it at this point, so we're going to end it. We've had a great discussion, and it's been very fruitful. Gil and I have got our gloves out about a few players, but that's all right. I don't want to see Meredith and Richardson get back that easily. They need to They need to show that.
Okay, bring in Jordan. But I'm not in favor of bringing in Malan. You can bring in Jordan.
All right. Okay, guys. Thanks. I think Divty's gone out. So thanks again for joining us today. It's been wonderful. We've got many more games to come. Join us tomorrow. This is Norman Kochnik on Extra Time. Thank you to Bastis, Gil, and Divty for your time. And see you soon again.
Thank you, Norman.